Depending on the size of your operation, some of the questions in Scope 4, also called Part 4, may seem a bit odd. That's because the GAP program is a national program geared towards large operations. Question 4-2 is a good example of this. It asks about inspecting bulk storage facilities prior to use. This question, however, is specifically intended for bulk storage areas used for products such as potatoes or onions. It may include warehouses, cellars, or areas where piles of product are being stored, and it does not apply to product in containers. So a small operation may not have a, quote, bulk storage area, but this scope can be included in an audit if a farmer chooses to do so, or if a buyer requests it. This section will also include many duplicate questions to Scope 3. Scope 4 covers topics like containers and pallets, pest control, refrigeration units, condition of transportation vehicles, worker health and hygiene, and traceability. So Tom, we're here in your packing area and cooler area, and I noticed there was a trailer with a cooling unit on it, and then there's this one. Can you talk about how you're using those two different coolers throughout the week?
Okay, well, with peaches, the storage temperatures are really critical, and it's also when you bring hot fruit in, it's really critical to get it cooled down. And all of the wholesale fruit goes in here, and sometimes other fruit does too. But this cooler is built to be able to put 3,000 or 4,000 pounds of warm fruit in it and have it cooled pretty fast. And we have it. Right, we keep it clean, maintain it.
Yep.
And it works pretty good. So all the wholesale fruits in here, we'll pull it out tomorrow when the truck comes, build a pallet here, and then pick the pallet up with a tractor and load it into the truck. The other cooler is generally kept at 50 degrees, and we use it mostly for our farmers market product. And peaches will turn mealy if you store them in between like 38 and 45 degrees. So you either have to keep it down close to freezing, or we put it at 50 degrees, and they actually keep pretty well at 50. But keeping them at 50 will condition them a little so that they're a little riper when we take them to farmers market.
Gotcha. The other things I'm noticing here is the cooler log, so it looks like that's maintained pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm. And
then it looks like you had a cover on that light, which is great, so you don't have a bulb shatter and then have to get rid of the entire cooler of fruit. So sounds good.
And we also have it so the water drains out.
The condensation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
And for our packaging, we use several different box types. This chaotic pile are boxes we get back from accounts. We try to use those just for the economical purpose of that. But we also have boxes purchased so that we always have inventory. And in order to reduce any risk on the reuse boxes and even the new boxes, we always put a box liner in the box, and that gives a complete barrier to even if it wasn't on our end, if grocery store produce manager puts the box down on a dirty floor, we still have that bag liner that protects it if the box itself gets muddy.
Right.
But our policy in the pack shed is nothing ever touches the ground, so everything's on pallets or mini pallets. We also have a dolly system with smaller pallets that aren't the full size.
Great.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned bringing a lot of volume through, and if I remember correctly from your lot number in the field, the lot number is 1 day, so you can process everything at once, and you kind of balance the risk of maybe recalling a bunch of things from 1 day if there's an issue, but also the ease of using everything, so you don't have to change the water every single box. Is that kind of how that's run?
Yeah, it is, and we are also getting better in working on a really precise field harvest records. So the last couple of weeks we've been doing actual amounts from each bed, and so for that lot number that day we know which beds we harvested from, So if there was an issue in the field, we could pinpoint that to this one bed of kale that we harvested that day instead of our entire acre of kale. And so that's kind of how we're managing that. So we don't, if there was an issue, we wouldn't need to just stop harvesting from an entire field. We can know which bed, whatever it is, came from.
Great. So it sounds like you're able to adjust your plan even during the season as you make changes to your production as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Okay, yeah, so David, here we have the old system of packaging for produce boxes, the reused ones from the university food services, and then this year we've switched over to the single-use boxes that we bought in bulk, and so that way, you know, it's another food contact surface, and we don't have to worry about, you know, like those, where they've been, what's happened with them.
And are these always new? Do your customers bring them back and you reuse them, or how does that work?
Right. Well, the customers really love to return stuff, but we've made it clear to them that we'll take them back, but we won't reuse them for deliveries, that we find other uses on the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're single use as far as consumer sales go.
And one of the things that's allowed by GAP is if you'd like to reuse back wax boxes or cardboard boxes, it is considered acceptable if you use a plastic liner. You can also use a wax butcher paper if you adequately line the inner barrier of that so there's no contact between the produce and the box. Is that something you would consider at all? Or?
Yeah, that's something that we're looking into, and we just, because we run boxes in a lot of different sizes depending on deliveries that week, you know, what we can buy in bulk and, you know, what will fit the boxes that we have.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Now it looks like this is the only storage area for these boxes, so they're always covered. It's not necessarily mouse-proof, but you're always kind of evaluating them before you're using them to see if there's been any signs of rodents or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as possible, we keep them in the original plastic packaging until we bust one open like this that
Right.
we're using. Yeah.